Last night, the US markets were, well, a tale of two very different stories playing out at the exact same time. So today, we're going to decode that split-screen action and figure out what it all means for the Korean markets open.
Okay, so just take a look at this. It really tells the whole story, right? You've got the Dow Jones, full of those traditional blue-chip companies, and it's surging, up over 1%. But then you glance over at the tech-heavy Nasdaq, and it's in the red. It's this classic tug-of-war, and let me tell you, it's a huge signal that a major shift is happening just under the surface.
So, the big question is, why? Why the split? I mean, you don't see a divide this clean very often. There have to be some really powerful forces at play here, pulling the market in completely opposite directions. So let's break it down.
And really, it all boils down to a classic battle. It's hope versus fear, playing out live in the minds of investors. And that battle, it's kicking off a massive shift in where all the money is flowing. The market was basically caught between two giant competing stories. In the hope corner, you had good news about the US Senate getting close to a spending bill to avoid a government shutdown. That, of course, boosted everyone's confidence in the wider economy. But in the fear corner, well, that's where AI stocks got a serious reality check. You had news that SoftBank sold off its entire NVIDIA stake, and then you had big short legend Michael Burry warning about a bubble. That combination really spooked the tech sector.
So this whole push and pull dynamic brings us to a super important idea for today: rotational trading. Think of it like this. When one part of the market, say AI tech, starts to feel a little too hot, a little too risky, investors don't just panic and sell everything. Nope, they rotate. They take their money out of that hot sector and move it into other, more stable areas that maybe everyone's been ignoring. And that is exactly what we just saw happen.
Okay, so let's follow the money. Where did it actually go during this big rotation? Who were the winners and who were the losers in this great shuffle?
Well, the losers were pretty obvious. The entire semiconductor world. I mean, the very backbone of this whole AI boom really felt the heat. The main semiconductor index dropped almost 2.5%. And yeah, you see the big names right there. NVIDIA, AMD, Oracle, all of them down for the day. It was classic profit-taking as investors started getting nervous about those sky-high valuations.
And where did all that money from tech go? It found a new home in those traditional, solid, blue-chip sectors. Take healthcare, for example. It had an amazing day, up over 2%. You've got giants like Eli Lilly and Amgen posting some really nice gains. It's clear investors were hunting for safety and value, and that's exactly where they found it.
And what's really fascinating is that you could see this trend even inside the world of big tech itself. Apple, which isn't really part of that pure AI hype train, was seen as a safe haven. It's got that reliable, solid cash flow, right? So investors flocked to it, pushing it up over 2% and right back to its mind-boggling $4 trillion market cap.
All right, so we've got this whole rotation story fresh in our minds. The big question now is, what's next? What are the key things we need to be watching today that could either keep this trend going or maybe even flip it on its head?
Okay, the schedule for today is absolutely packed with potential market movers. But here's what you really need to pay attention to. This speech is from the Fed. You've got New York Fed President John Williams and Fed Governor Christopher Waller. Now, Williams is kind of a centrist, but Waller, he's a known hawk. So whatever they say about inflation and interest rates could be the trigger that decides if investors stick with these safe value stocks or dive right back into growth.
Okay, so that's the US story. But what does it all mean for us, here? For the Korean markets open, what's the game plan for today?
Well, the forecast is for a pretty tricky open, to be honest. It's probably going to be cautious, with those mixed signals from the US and especially with the AI-related stocks taking a hit. We're likely looking at a lower start. So don't expect the whole market to just take off. Nope, this is going to be a day for careful stock picking. The market's going to be searching for a path, and that rotation theme we've been talking about, it's probably going to be the main event.
Now, it's not all doom and gloom. Let's look at the positives. There are some real tailwinds for the KOSPI. First, that good news about the US avoiding a shutdown, that helps everyone. We're also seeing the big institutions keep buying, the long-term story for semiconductors is still strong, and hey, a lot of really solid leading stocks are looking kind of cheap right now.
But we've got to balance that with the headwinds. That drop in US AI stocks, like NVIDIA, is definitely going to cast a shadow. Plus, there's still this feeling that our own tech stocks are a bit pricey. And then you have the usual worries. What are foreign investors going to do? And what's up with the exchange rate? All things to keep in mind.
So, to wrap all this up, This one-liner from Rorosha's analysis really just nails it. Get ready for a lower start, for sure. But the real story today isn't going to be about the overall index number. No, the real action is going to be happening underneath the surface. It's going to be all about that rotation between sectors.
And that leaves us with one big question to think about as the market opens. If this great rotation from high-flying tech to undervalued sectors is truly the name of the game, where do you think the smart money is going to flow next here in Korea? What are those overlooked industries that are just waiting for their turn to shine? That's the billion-dollar question for today.